Hello everyone, my name is Kevin. I work in the company Snob Entertainment. I'm one of the co-founders. Fun fact, everyone working at the company currently is one of the co-founders. That's how the company currently works. I want to talk about Snob Entertainment, Project Astra Dominium, and our new game that we are currently developing. And for the team, currently we are 3 people, which is Kili, Flo, and myself. Kili is for accountant, legal staff, and he keeps those things away from us so that Flo and I can fully focus on making the game development and making the games as good as we can. And Kili obviously helped with playtesting and everything. Flo does mainly the game design. He is a programmer, and because he's a programmer, he can develop a lot of things himself. He doesn't need me or any other person in the team to develop small features, like, for example, he wants a different tower upgrade in Project Astra Dominium, then he can do that himself. He doesn't need me for that, and that's great because he can do the game design, and if he needs more small tweaks here and there, then he can do that themselves. He also did the whole UI revamp, which I will show, which is really awesome. I really like it. I do most of the groundwork when it comes to more low level development and bigger gameplay features and software architecture and everything. I also do the technical artist stuff. I do most of the VFX stuff in the games, and I do the graphics also, but I'm not a graphic artist, so it's a bit better than programmer art, but it is what it is. Graphics we currently outsource a lot, and we hope we can change that someday, but we are not there yet. So Project Astra Dominium is our first game, which is released in Steam, currently in early access, and we hope that we can release Project Astra Dominium as a full release end of the year. If something goes south, then it will be January. The problem currently is a very positive one, because Florian got a baby, and because he has a newborn at home, and since our games don't make enough money that we can do Snob Entertainment full time, and because of that he works a full-time job, has a newborn at home, and has to deal with my complaints that Project Astra Dominium needs to get finished as soon as possible. And he's dealing that really well, and we hope that by the end of the year, or really January next year, we will fully release Project Astra Dominium. We have a lot of changes in the pipeline, and I want to talk about them. So the future for Project Astra Dominium is we want to release very soon 0.10.x. If you don't know our version number scheme, the second version is basically how many levels are there in the game, and currently we are at 0.9, so we try to release a new level, and we try to release a lot of UI revamps and a fix for a current issue in the game. Currently the game has no end game with resources. When you cleared one of the later levels, then what you can do, you can always do an endless mode, and this way challenge yourself how far you can come. And since we have mutations and everything in the game, there will be a time when the enemies will outperform your towers, no matter how good they are. But for the factory part, we have the issue that if you have a late game factory, you create a lot of resources which you don't know what you want to do with them. They basically go into your storage, and you have nothing to do with them. Florian came up with a great idea to fix that, and I will explain that when we come to the slide. And like I said, end of the year, beginning of next year, we will put Project Astra Dominium into full release. But currently the game is already in a fully playable state. It's not like there are a lot of bugs or crashes or everything. At least from our Steam discussions and what we get as feedback from the community, the game is a really stable state. And the full release for us is basically we don't make any breaking changes anymore. So we try not to do any big UI revamps. We will definitely make sure that your save game will not be corrupted by a higher version and things like that. That's the full release for us. When we full release the game, I think the game will not have all the levels that we would love to put into Project Astra Dominium. So even though when the game is fully released, we will still update the game. It's not like we will release it and don't care anymore. We will still update the game, put new levels in there, and we even have some game modes planned which we want to add. And for the UI revamp, basically, for example, when you have the game currently, then you have at the bottom a bar where everything that is buildable is selectable. And with the revamp, we have like a category system. We have like categories at the bottom, and if you click the categories, then you see the things that you can build. And Flo really did a great job making the UI more beautiful and everything. And also, Tower Loadout got a little UI revamp, but that's hard to spot. It's in the skill trees. And for the end game content, what Flo came up with and what is currently in our dev branch, which will be released with 0.10, is that you can craft cargo crates and you can craft every resource to a resource package. Like on the screen, for example, is an example resource package where you put aluminium ingots plus cargo crates in and you get a resource package, which in this case is uncommon. They have multiple stages. So there's epic, rare, uncommon, and common. And you can take those resource packages and send them to Earth. So basically the eco skill tree, which currently costs, I don't know, an upgrade for a grabber costs some copper cables and whatnot. This completely changed to you can send resources back to Earth, and the resources that you send back to Earth will give you resource packages. And you can use those resource packages to buy upgrades. And those upgrades are also possible to be endless. So this is basically the revamp of the eco skill tree with the new system, where you have those resource upgrades, which increases your AI capabilities, and you can use those AI capabilities upgrades for factory upgrades, which are basically the same upgrades like currently belt speed and everything, but revamped and embedded into the new system. Also, currently grabber upgrades are unlocked via levels, and this changes so that you can unlock the new grabbers here with those resource upgrade packages. And also a new feature comes, there will be a global skill tree for combat upgrades for your towers. So these skills at the top left and right side might change, but these skills will be endlessly scalable. So there's a formula which defines the cost, and obviously the higher you skill it, the more costful it gets. But you have basically an endless way to use your factory resources and have an impact on how they work with your towers. And you can, for example, increase the damage or whatever of the towers endlessly, and your factory doesn't get useless in endgame, which is currently the case. But this fixes the issue quite well, and Flow is working very heavily to make this work. Currently in our dev branch, the development side, so my job is basically done, but there's a lot of playtesting and a lot of values needs to be tweaked and everything. There's a lot of work after the technical side is done, which goes into that. And since this upgrade of the game is quite large, because we introduced new skill tree, we revamped a lot of UI, and we don't want to put an update out with this which is half-assed. And because Flo has the issue that his newborn is very unpredictable when he needs his attention or not, we weren't able to give those small early access releases like we used to. But I really want to ensure that you know that we are still working on the game, and because this upgrade is so big and mandatory in changes, it takes a while. But we try to release the upgrade as soon as possible. I hope we will have it by end of the month, or maybe earlier. And then we will try to add some of the some more levels and more content, and after that the game will become fully released. And like I said, this isn't the end of the game. We will continue to develop this game further. So since my job basically is done with Project Astra Dominium, here and there Florian needs my help, or want to some changes or something, then obviously I do that. But since it's mostly game design things that Flo has to tweak and manage in Project Astra Dominium, I have a lot of free time. And I use my free time to develop the groundwork for our next game. I can't, or I don't want to tell too much about the game, because we have a whole marketing strategy and everything for that in place, which I shouldn't break. But the new game, in a nutshell, will be a 4-player co-op cozy adventure game where you manage a shop, a farm, and your city, basically. And you do equipment modifications with socketing gems like you see on the screen, which modifies your skills and everything. And basically you also have a fighting combat, which is a typical ARPG combat style. So you have an adventure with an ARPG combat style, and a cozy part of it where you manage a shop and a farm, basically. I don't want to talk too much more about the new game because I'm not allowed to, basically. But we are currently working on a new game. When Project Astra Dominium is fully released, like I said, we will keep on upgrading Project Astra Dominium, but we will work on a new game. And the new game will be 4-player co-op and a cozy adventure, because that's what our community, a lot of the game community reflected to us, that this is a game they're really interested in, and we also love these kind of games, because indie game studios shouldn't only make games they love, because like I said, we work full-time, then we have our wife and everything, and our normal life, and next to our normal life we build the games for you, and that's a lot of work that's a lot of free time that we put into this. And you should do in your free time what you love, and that's basically what we do. And we we are really happy that we can do that and get such great feedback from the community back. So the new game will be in Unreal Engine. This was a really hard decision for us because the team has a lot of experience with Unity. I do Unity for 10 years now, and for our first game, which is a single player game, I mean, we have a leaderboard, but it's basically a single player game, and the first game of the company, it was an easy decision to go with Unity. The team has a lot of experience in it. The problem is we don't make a mobile game, and Unity is basically a mobile game engine. If you do a mobile game, then nobody would doubt that you do Unity. We are doing PC games, and when you do PC games, you can do Unity. I mean, we basically have done Project Astra Dominium with Unity. You have to jump some hoops to make it possible. For example, it might not seem much, but rendering a lot of item boxes in the game in Unity, for that you have to trick the engine quite a lot. Or there are other ways to do it, but I think I did it the most performant way. And you have to work around the engine a bit to make that possible. From a development standpoint and everything, I really love Unity. Unity is an awesome game engine. I have nothing bad to say about that. But with the new license model that Unity wants to apply, we were really mad about that. And because for us, the license model would be really, really bad if the game did good. And I don't think that's a good thing. I don't want to go too deep into that, but when I got the email from Unity that the license model will change, I was more than shocked. And then I thought to myself, yeah, maybe my English isn't that good because I'm not an English native speaker. Let's sleep about it. And I went to bed. I woke up the next day, and everybody was in line with my understanding of the new license model, which was really bad. Unity changed that a bit. They rolled it a bit back, but it's basically not enough in my opinion. And for me, they took so long to roll it back that we decided for the new game to switch to Unreal Engine. The problem with Unreal Engine is a more complicated engine than Unity is. On the flip side, Unreal Engine is way more polished. Way more polished. It's insane how polished it is. Our team, myself, I have a lot of experience with Unreal Engine, which might be counterintuitive because I am basically a Unity developer with 10 years experience and experience in really professional experience with Unity. But in my younger ages, I developed a lot of engine code myself in my free time, which never was a good engine. We don't need to talk about that. But as soon as Unreal Engine got open sourced, I read the whole source code. I went in there and I wanted to know how they do networking and everything. And I basically read the whole Unreal Engine source code. So I knew pretty well how the engine internally works. And so we said ourselves, okay, we try Unreal Engine for the new game, which we wanted to do anyway. It's not like Unity messed up and we switched to Unreal Engine. That's the case also, but it's just the tip of the iceberg because the team always wanted to do Unreal Engine because the Unreal Engine renderer is so much more beautiful. And it's way easier to do some things in Unreal Engine than to do them in Unity. And one of those things is multiplayer. Doing multiplayer in Unity is a, a bit strange, because Unity itself just released game objects, network for game objects or something like that they called it, which is pretty new. And if something is new in Unity, it's pretty alpha often. The network for game objects will work totally fine. I've talked with the Unity team about that and everything at conventions, and it looks really good. But there was already something like that in Unity, which is called Photon. And basically they work the same. And the Unreal Network and networking works pretty close to that. So networking in games basically is a solved issue. The game has to comply to make lag compensation and everything, but the issue is basically solved. And Unity has those different frameworks, and you have to pick, and they have prices and everything. And what we want to do, because we leverage Steam, we want to leverage Steam networking so that you can do your networking stuff over the network via Steam. The big benefit for us about that is we don't need to pay for servers, and you can do a 4-player co-op basically for free for us financially, which is very important for us because our budget is really tight. And you can do that in Unity with a thing called Mirror. Mirror is basically developed by one guy who was annoyed that Unity has no solution out of the box for that. And he developed Mirror, and for now Mirror is also very battle-proofed. And if you do Unity and want to make a multiplayer game, I can recommend Mirror. And he has a Steam integration, so he can do that. The problem is when you develop with Mirror, network for game objects, or one of the other things, a multiplayer game, you have to do basically 90% yourself. And in Unreal Engine, this is fixed. This is already done. For example, let's a really simple example. You have a spell which does an animation, and at one point in the animation you want to cast a fireball. If you just send from client to server, I want to send a fireball, we do a co-op game. So if you cheat in a co-op game, your friends has to deal with that. But there's no need, this is not a competitive game. We don't need that much of anti-cheat and everything, which is also in Unreal fixed, but we don't need that. But you want to cast a fireball, and at a specific point in time in the animation, you want the fireball to appear on the client and on the server, and then it goes away and does its thing. The problem with that is, if you just send to the server, cast a fireball, play the animation, and it will appear, the time when the fireball appears is very, very much lag dependent. And Unreal Engine has a system which is called Gameplay Ability System, often also called GAS, which does the client and server side prediction for you. I just tell the GAS system, play this animation, and at this point in the animation I send an event to the GAS system, and I can spawn a projectile at this event. And this is at the client exactly at the animation state, and the server does make checks if you have enough mana and everything, and can reject it. Let's say while you do the animation, you get stunned, and because you get stunned, the fireball gets interrupted. Developing this in a network game and make it feel great is not that easy to do. and needs a lot of client-side prediction and everything. And the gas system in Unreal Engine does that. And in Unity, you have to develop that yourself. And there are downsides when you use the gas system, but the upsides are very preferable. And making a networked 4-player game feel good is harder than making a single-player game, basically. And since we have some experience with Unreal Engine and Unity messed up so badly, we switched with the new game to Unreal Engine. Now Unity has rolled back some of their messed up licensing thing, but it's still bad. When we want to update Unity, they still force this thing onto us, but they improved it. But our trust into Unity is basically gone. And that's where when we go further, we make it an Unreal Engine. Obviously, switching Project Astra Dominium to Unreal Engine would be totally insane because we are close to full release and it would be a lot of work, but all our new games will be done with Unreal Engine. And the nice thing about a gas system is Fortnite is developed with it. And if it works for Fortnite, then it will work for our small indie game. And I really like the engine. I mean, the rendering of the engine and how you work with the engine is beyond awesome. The problem with Unreal Engine is that the learning curve is quite steep, but since we have experience with Unreal Engine, that doesn't apply to us, and that's why the new game is an Unreal Engine. So the big changes that will come, we will, as soon as possible, release those new things for Project Astra Dominium, which is basically combat upgrades and everything. We will soon announce our new game. There's a marketing plan for that, which we will announce it next year. At the early stages of next year, we will announce the new game with a trailer and everything. And everything continues as usual. We are really happy how the community reacts to Project Astra Dominium and to our company. And I know we were a little quiet last month because of newborn and a lot of a bigger update and everything, but we will continue developing Project Astra Dominium, and we also will create a new game next year, and I'm really happy about that. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye.